Last week I had a surgical termination under general anaesthesia, so this video is for women who may be about to experience it and you're a bit nervous and don't know what to expect. I will say technically mine wasn't a termination because my baby's heartbeat had already stopped. I found out at 13 weeks pregnant that the baby was sick and that I would need to get a termination. 2 weeks before the surgery took place, my baby's heartbeat stopped. But this procedure was done at a termination clinic. So the experience, although the reasons for termination might be different, although it's not technically a termination, the experience will be pretty similar of the actual procedure and what to expect on the day. So when you go to the clinic the day of the surgery, you will have to take a tablet called misoprostol. I didn't. The reason why is because of how far along pregnant I was. Gestationally, I was 22 weeks. Instead, the day before, I had to have dilapan rods put into my cervix, which was very traumatic. But unless you're over 19 weeks pregnant, you will not have to have this done. So if you are under 19 weeks, don't even worry about that. On the day of the surgery, you will take a tablet called misoprostol. This tablet will soften your cervix and help dilate it so that the surgery can take place safely. I don't want to talk too much about that because I don't actually know, because I didn't have experience with it. But my understanding is you will be put on a ward, a big room within the clinic, where you will sit with other women who have taken the exact same tablet as you. When you're ready for surgery, I was taken into a consultation room where I had my heart rate, my blood pressure, my temperature, and my weight checked. I was then given a painkiller and an anti-nausea tablet. I didn't actually take the anti-nausea tablet because those tablets actually make me more nauseous. So you can refuse it. They will ask you to remove any piercings or contact lenses if you have those in. I then had to go back to the waiting room. On my notes, it says I have a fear of needles. So when it was time, it was about 20 minutes before surgery, they put numbing cream where the cannula was going to go. The cannula they usually put in your hand, but I have a real thing about the thought of a needle in my hand. I didn't like it. So I had asked if the cannula could go up my arm. You know, like here. So they took me around the corner from the waiting room, put the numbing cream on both sides of my arm, and then put a little sticky pad over it to keep the cream in place. When it was time for the procedure, I was taken into what looks like a little dressing room. When you go clothes shopping, a dressing room with a curtain, and instead of a hospital gown, they gave me like a skirt, like a sarong skirt. But by skirt, I mean it was just a piece of material that you tie like a skirt, and they also gave me socks to put on. They'd given me this blue basket to put my stuff in, so you know, my underwear, my trousers. I had gone with a friend, and and in my handbag I had a pair of period pants and sanitary pads, because I thought I would need to bring my own, but they actually provide that for you, so you don't need to worry about that. I put all my stuff in this basket. It all happened so quick. I was first in for surgery that day. It was 9:30 in the morning they took me in. The reason I was first was because of the dilapan rods, which I'll talk about in another video. The theatre room was so busy. There were like 7 or 8 people in there, but it made me feel better. It wasn't as intimidating as I thought. Now, when I went in, I could see various nurses walking around. There was the surgeon, there was the anaesthetist, and there was a woman who kept talking to me that was in her own clothes. She was lovely. Because of how far along in my pregnancy I was, because it was second trimester, and it's, you know, it's seen as, although like I said, it wasn't technically a termination, the procedure is like a termination, 22 weeks. I know during the procedure, although I was asleep, there was ultrasound monitoring. So the further along pregnant you are, the more likely it is that while the procedure is taking place, they are doing an ultrasound. This is to make sure that the surgery is being done safely, so that the surgeons can really see what they're doing and also make sure that all the pregnancy tissue is removed. Because if any is left behind, it can cause infection later down the line. I want to make it clear, I didn't see the ultrasound. I didn't see any like medical equipment. So you don't, you know, the tools they use for the procedure, I didn't see any of that. It obviously would have been somewhere in the room, but I think, yeah, they sort of keep it out of your eye line so that you don't get freaked out. I was someone that was terrified of being put to sleep. I'd never had any sort of procedure before. Terrified. And they could see that I knew, because I'd had to attend that clinic 3 or 4 times already. I had always said how scared I was. And what intimidated me, I thought it would be a situation where I'd go into the surgery room and have to sit with the surgeon and like talk for 10-15 minutes. It's not like that. So they got me in, and I had a wristband with my name on it and a CRN number, like case record number. So they read out my name to the surgeon and my CRN number just to make sure it all matches. They then got me to sit on the bed. It was so quick. I want to actually say, from when I walked into that theatre room to when I was asleep, I honestly think it was 3 or 4 minutes. It was so quick, and that's good. And I think they deliberately do that so you don't have time to panic. They got me to sit on the bed. I kept saying, I'm scared, I don't want to die. I have a 12-year-old, I don't want to die. And they were like, you're not going to die. You're not gonna die. And obviously I didn't. I was sitting on the bed and they have like these stirrups with, honestly, it's like moon boots taped to them. So you put your feet in them. It's like putting your feet into slippers. And you're sitting upright, so your feet are not touching the ground, but it's positioned to touch the ground. It was then like this gym playmat block thing that's put behind you and you sit up against it. It was all going so quick. And the thing is, it was going so quick that like at one point I remember looking to my right side at the anaesthetist and I could see he was about to put the needle in. And I freaked out, and not even from seeing the needle, but because it was all going so quick. And I was like, wait, what's about to happen? What's going to happen? You're going to put this needle in me. What happens? And the woman, the one who I said was in her own clothes and kept talking to me, she was like, listen, look at me, focus on me. It's going to be okay. We're just going to put an oxygen mask on you in a minute, and that's it. They then started to lower the bed down. At this point, I think the anaesthetist must have put the needle in me, but I wasn't looking. I didn't want to see it. And because of this numbing cream, I didn't feel anything. Some people have described, anesthesia going in, the drugs going in, as like it makes your arm really warm or it makes it really cold. I didn't feel any of that. I would not have been able, I had no idea when they put it in. He then lowered the bed down, and I remember looking at the anaesthetist and he gave me, I can't even describe the smile he gave me. It wasn't smug, it wasn't arrogant, but he gave me this smile and he was like, you're going to be asleep within 10 seconds. And I was like, really? And he was like, yes. They then they lowered this oxygen mask on my face. And the woman who was in her own clothes just said, I just want you to breathe in and out normally. I remember breathing in, breathing out, breathing in again, thinking, this stuff tastes weird. And then I was out. The next thing I remember after that was opening my eyes and seeing that I was in a lift. I'm terrified of elevators. I haven't been in a lift in like 20 years. I remember briefly opening my eyes and I could just see in the steel door that I was like slumped in this wheelchair. And I remember thinking, I'm dreaming. There's no way I would get in a lift voluntarily. I'm dreaming. So I just closed my eyes again. And then the next thing I remember after that is a nurse, somebody in my ear, like, time to wake up. And me just being like, no, let me sleep. No, it honestly feels, I was so scared that before being put to sleep, one of my fears was that I would wake up confused and scared. Like if I woke up like, why am I in this medical setting? What's going on? I was scared of that. I knew exactly where I was and why I was there. And honestly, I don't remember. I wasn't feeling sad. I wasn't feeling relieved. I just felt tired. I just felt like they were like trying to get me out the wheelchair. They were saying like, you need to get out the wheelchair, come on. And me just being like, no, let me sleep for 5 more minutes. And they were like, no. So I remember briefly standing up and them like helping me get into this this like a big armchair, this big leather armchair. And I remember feeling the sides of this chair to find some sort of recliner button because I just wanted to sleep. I wasn't even opening my eyes at this point. All it felt like I said, there were no emotions other than just let me sleep. It wasn't scary. It's all the feeling, when you're a kid or like a teenager and your mom or your dad or whoever is trying to wake you up and you're just like, no, fuck off, leave me alone. That's all it felt like. And by this point, so I was in a recovery room and I started to come round really quick. And I think it is because the procedure is so quick. It took 10 minutes. Imagine, I was 22 weeks pregnant, technically, and I felt this anesthesia wear off within like 20 minutes. Like within 20-30 minutes I felt okay again. I literally had sent my friend, the one who was with me in the waiting room, sent her a text like, I'm still alive. And what's mad about it is the thought, not only does the procedure take place without you aware of it, but at one point they would have lifted me up and put me in a wheelchair and I just had no knowledge. Also during the procedure, put underwear and pad on you. When I was still coming around, that I want to add, I could hear them in my ear like, do you want some juice? Do you want biscuits? And I was like, can I have some water? My eyes are still shut. And then I just felt the woman, the nurse, come back and she's like, I've got your water. My eyes are still shut. I hold out my hand. She puts this cup of water in my hand and I told her I loved her. I was like, thank you, I love you. Because I just was really thirsty. And again, you don't have a tube down your throat, by the way, during the procedure. That's not why I was so thirsty. You don't have a tube. They hold an oxygen mask on your face the whole procedure. It took 10 minutes. It was a 10-minute procedure. So I was probably asleep for less than 20 minutes, which is why I think it wore off. They then wanted to take me to the bathroom to try and pee. And I was like, I can't. Like, I already know I feel like I can't. And they were like, okay, well, can we go and change your pad? So they helped me up off the chair. I'm still sort of, again, I didn't feel terrible. I didn't feel sick. I was just very tired. And halfway to the bathroom, I actually was like, no, I think I need to sit back down. I'm not ready. I just felt very like, you know, I cannot stand up straight. So they were like, no problem. So they took me back to my chair. I'm not hooked up to anything, by the way. Like, there's no IV line when you wake up. That was something I was also afraid of. They then gave me some biscuits. I was so out of it. So I picked up these, it was like a little basket, this little woven basket full of biscuits. And I remember I took this little packet of digestives. And then also bourbons, and I fucking hate bourbons. So that's how out of it I was. I picked up bourbons. Anyway, at this point, 2 other girls have been wheeled into recovery. I'm not sure if they were put to sleep or not, because they looked wide awake. Like, they were in a better place than me. They were wide awake. Like, and they managed, within 5 minutes, the girl went with the nurse to the bathroom, and I still didn't feel capable. But anyway, I eventually was able to go to the bathroom. And their nurses were lovely, by the way. There were 2 in the room. They do not leave. And the nurse, when she said, let's try and get you to the bathroom again. In the bathroom, I did say, I was like, I cannot pee. Like, I just feel like mentally, like, I'm clenching. I don't want to pee. She was like, okay, well, can you just check your pad for me? We just want to check, you know, if there's loads of blood loss. And I was too scared to look. And I said that, I was like, I don't want to look. Like, I just wasn't in the mood. Do you know what I mean? So she was like, well, do you want me to look? Like, are you okay if I look? So I was like, yeah, that's fine. So I lowered this underwear, and she had a look. I didn't look. She had a look, and she was like, no, you're fine. There's barely any. They then gave me my basket of what clothes I was wearing beforehand. So I just put my trousers back on, went back in. By this point, I'm wide awake. They then let you know, if you're ready, you can go, we'll take you down in 10 minutes to go home. And they also give you a little brown goodie bag of just contraception advice. Which kind of feels like a piss take in that moment, but and sorry, in the bag as well is also loads of leaflets about aftercare, how to take care of yourself and signs to look out for, also a counselling number, and then you're out. They walk you down the stairs. They will not let you leave on your own. If you've had general anaesthesia, you cannot go home on your own. They will make sure of it. And yeah, my friend was in the car park, so they walked me as far as the reception. They could see on the CCTV the woman I'd been with all day was in the car park. And the reason she was in the car park, she'd gone to get me a Ribena, because I was saying before the surgery, I just want to drink some Ribena. So she'd quickly ran out to go get me a Ribena and a packet of crisps. I can't believe how normal I felt afterwards. And again, it might be because you're just not asleep that long. Once I was awake, I felt awake. There was no sort of waiting 5 hours for this anaesthesia to wear off. Once I felt it was worn off within 20-30 minutes, I was awake the rest of the day. I wasn't in a lot of pain. What I will quickly say, sorry, forgot to mention, during the surgery, they will offer you an antibiotic and painkiller, and it's an injection in your bum. And I think you can refuse it, but I didn't want to refuse it. And I think, I don't know what painkiller it is. I think they said it began with P, but it wasn't paracetamol. But they gave, that must have been a strong painkiller, because I was in no pain. I didn't even really have cramps. I didn't need to take painkillers. I was out, by the way. I was out of the clinic by 10:30. I didn't need to take painkillers until about 9 p.m. and that was 2 paracetamol, and then I was fine. Yeah, this video is getting quite long now, so if you have any questions, just ask me and I will let you know as much as I can.